Hello again, and welcome to 10 Things About Writing. Today I'm going to talk about agents, because when I first started off I had no idea what an agent did, except that they seem to have lunch a lot, and it strikes me that nowadays people starting off in writing very often have preconceptions about what an agent does and why you might need one. Now, in brief, an agent's role is fairly simple. It's to act as a go-between between the author and also potential publishers, foreign publishers. Anybody who's actually wanting to deal with the author tends to go through an agent, and it can be useful particularly when you're negotiating money, because most authors are not very good at money, and agents are. You have never met a poor agent, and they are entirely there to sell your work, to place it with the kind of publisher who wants it, and to make sure that you're dealt with fairly and reasonably, you're paid on time, and the legal side of things. And things get a bit complicated, especially when you're being published in other countries. Make sure all those things are covered for you. Now, most people will be starting off simply with the idea that they want to be published in their own country and their own language. And they might wonder, why would I effectively pay somebody to do that? Now, first of all, let's get one thing clear. You're not actually paying your agent. Your agent will take a commission from any money that they earn on your behalf. So if you earn, let's say, £100,000 for your first novel, that would be marvellous. Your agent would take usually 15 or maybe 20% of that money for themselves, for their agency, for their services. So obviously, when you're starting off, you think, well, why wouldn't I just go to a publisher myself and do that and cut out the middleman? And some people try. I tried initially because I didn't know much about publishing or agents, and I thought that actually I could just send off a manuscript. You did that in those days. You went to the post office, you sent a manuscript in a big bundle, and then you waited. And I did this for over 2 years. And the lesson that I've learned, which you can learn in 30 seconds here, is don't do that, because publishers don't read them. If you are stupid enough to send your manuscript in physical form the way I was, then they will probably use it for scrap paper, unless it's printed on both sides of the paper, in which case it'll go straight in the bin because it's of no use to them at all. Agents are the people to whom publishers look to see if something that they have is actually worth reading. And so they're gatekeepers in a sense. They are the people who are there to filter, to triage the work that comes through, and lots of work comes through, with some of it completely unpublishable, some of it quite promising but needing work. Publishers don't have time to read all that stuff, and so they rely on a kind of structure of other professionals to triage the work for them. Agents can be very tough. It is as tough to get an agent as it is to get a publisher, and they're very demanding. Even more so now, I think, than when I started off, and it was already pretty hard then. But most publishers will not look at unrepresented authors because, like it or not, authors have to jump through hoops before publishers are willing to look at their work and meet them. And there's a reason for this. It's not necessarily a very nice reason, and particularly if you want to apply these kind of thinking to yourself, it's not very comfortable. But effectively, it boils down to this. One, you need somebody to find out if your writer can write commercially enough to be published commercially. Agents are very good at knowing this. They're very good at looking at the potential of a book and thinking, okay, that one is likely to be a big hitter. That one is maybe too niche to find a market comfortably. Maybe it's not worth a publisher taking a punt on it. And that is very tough thinking, and it's not nice to think of your life's work in those terms, but agents do, because that's what they're paid for. They're also there to find out other things about you as an author. Not just whether you can write, but whether you can take advice, whether you can take instruction, whether you are going to behave yourself when you're dealing with other professionals in the industry. And I find that actually a lot of people can't. It's it's a little shocking to see how some people present themselves when trying to approach agents and publishers. And basically what it boils down to is this: if you're a dick, they're much less likely to sign you up. So agents are really there to find out whether you are going to behave in a professional way or whether you're going to be a dick. Nobody wants to work with a dick. So if you are thinking of submitting your work to an agent, here's how to do it. First of all, scope out the agent that you've chosen to send the work to. For a start, you need to have a reason to choose them, rather than just looking through the writer's handbook or the writer's and artist's yearbook and choosing an agency just like that. Have a look at whether you and the agent will be compatible. Have a look at the kind of thing that they tend to handle. Some agents only deal with screenplays, some only deal with commercial fiction, some never deal with sci-fi. You have to kind of filter whether you're going to work with them or whether actually you are writing in a genre that they don't want to deal with. There's that. Look at their website, look at their social media presence. They should have one. Find out what their submission guidelines are. And then stick to them absolutely to the letter. Don't assume that all agents have the same submission guidelines, because they don't. Irritatingly, a lot of them have little differences. Some of them want 3 sample chapters and a synopsis. Some of them want 1 sample chapter and a synopsis. Find out what they want and give it to them as closely as you can get. This is not the time for you to be pretentious or arrogant or pushy or rude. And weirdly, a lot of people are. A lot of people approach this with the idea that they need to project an impression of extreme confidence, and so they will approach an agent by saying, I'm giving you a fabulous opportunity to read my wonderful best-selling book. You'd be a fool to turn it down. And then when they come back after 3 months or 6 months and say, well, no, it's not for us, they will then write strings of vitriolic emails, thereby assuring that no agent or publisher would ever look at them again. This is not the way to go. So you approach people by using their rules, because if you're wanting to live in their world and to work in it, it makes sense that you should accept their rules, and then you just try your best to conform to what it is that they want of you. If that's not the way you want to do it, if you want to self-publish, for instance, then you probably don't need an agent. But if you do want to be published commercially, then you probably will. Not just because publishers like the security of knowing that somebody has been dealing with somebody else in the profession who believes in them now, but also because sometimes publishers rip you off. And an agent who is well versed in the law, who understands publishing contracts much better than the average author, and who most importantly wants to make money themselves, will protect you from that kind of treatment. One word of caution: you should never pay an agent. No agent who asks you for money up front is a real agent. And I've noticed, particularly here during lockdown, that there have been quite a lot of companies popping up, approaching authors and would-be authors, saying, you know, we'd like to represent you, it's only going to cost you 95 quid. Don't go with these people. These people are not agents. They're not your friends. They don't have the contacts in the industry that they claim to have. They are there to rip you off. An agent should never accept money up front, because they should believe in your work to such an extent that they know it's going to make money. They know you are going to get an advance. They know they are going to get a percentage. Next time I'm going to talk about synopses, because a lot of you have been asking about this, how exactly to write a synopsis. And it's probably worth a whole session, because after 30 years I still find it tricky. So tune in again next week. Until then, have a good day. I'll see you later.